At the far end of the north, amid the freezing waters and massive drifting icebergs, a giant creature is rising, blazing red and full of power. They call it the Red King of the Sea, the king crab. In Alaska, it's a treasure. In Europe, it's an invader. Every year, thousands of fishermen risk their lives in the Barents Sea to hunt this crab, a catch worth millions of dollars in just a few weeks. But at the same time, more than 2,000 kilometers away, another swarm of crabs is spreading, completely out of control. From Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, they crossed the icy ocean and invaded the Barents Sea, once a peaceful home to cod, starfish, and soft corals. And in just a few decades, the King of Alaska has become the invader of Northern Europe. We're witnessing one of nature's strangest paradoxes, a species celebrated as a symbol of luxury, and yet condemned as one of Europe's greatest ecological threats. But how did a crab from Alaska end up drifting all the way to Northern Europe? The answer lies in the past, in a time when humans believed they could control nature itself. Don't forget to hit subscribe and join us as we explore more of the ocean's hidden stories. The Red King Crab, a name that sounds like a symbol of power, actually comes from the remote waters of the Pacific Ocean. For thousands of years, they lived around the Kamchatka Peninsula, the Sea of Okhotsk, and the Barents Sea, deep, cold waters rich in plankton. There, they were simply part of the natural ecosystem. No one called them invaders. But in the 1960s, when the world was divided by the Cold War, the Soviet Union launched a bold experiment to move the king crab from the Far East all the way to the Barents Sea, over 2,000 kilometers to the west. The goal sounded simple: create a new seafood resource for northern Soviet territories, where the sea was frozen year-round and food was scarce. Scientists believed that if the king crab could survive in Alaska, it could also survive in the Barents Sea. At first, they seemed unable to adapt. Many died from temperature shock, unfamiliar currents, or lack of familiar food. But nature always finds a way. A few survived, reproduced, and spread, slowly, steadily, like a red tide beneath the ice. Two decades later, massive swarms began appearing along Norway's coast. Local fishermen saw a crab whose legs were longer than a man's arm. They couldn't believe their eyes, and neither could the scientists. No one expected that just a few hundred crabs released in 1961 would multiply into millions by the 1990s, spreading hundreds of kilometers. That's when people realized the experiment had worked. far too well. The king crab didn't just survive, it dominated, wiping out native bottom-dwelling species like starfish, sea urchins, and kelp. A species once seen as Alaska's treasure had now become Northern Europe's ecological nightmare. Technically, the king crab is an invasive species, but for those living along Norway's coast, it's also an opportunity, a chance to change their lives. In small towns like Kirkenes and Tromsø, where winter lasts nearly 8 months, people have long lived with the cold and the dark. When the king crab appeared, they saw not just a threat, but a new source of income. Hundreds of small boats began setting out to sea. Each carried only a few people, and hundreds of steel traps weighing hundreds of kilos dropped to depths of 200 meters. They worked in conditions where seawater could freeze in minutes. A single mistake, a slip, a tangled rope, a sudden wave could make someone vanish forever into the icy sea. Yet thousands continue to go out every season, because one full trap could be worth $1,000. A single successful trip could equal a year's income. Like the Alaskans, Norwegian fishermen now live with a paradox. They earn their living from a species their country calls invasive. Each time they haul a trap, they feed their families and unknowingly contribute to humanity's struggle to control nature. On deck lie hundreds of massive crimson crabs, heavy, alive, and cold, like the land that raised them. From the frozen decks of the Barents Sea, the king crab's journey is only beginning. Once the ships reach port, crates of giant crabs are unloaded quickly. Each one is still alive, claws moving in the 0-degree water. Fishermen deliver them to coastal processing plants where the work never stops. Inside, hundreds of workers labor in freezing air. The crabs are cleaned, sorted, and frozen at 30 degrees Celsius. The largest ones are kept alive, placed in chilled saltwater tanks, ready for flights to Tokyo, Seoul, or Paris. Within days, they'll appear on dining tables thousands of miles away. In fine restaurants, king crab isn't just food, it's luxury, a status symbol. A single 8-kilogram crab can sell for over $1,000. Its meat, white, sweet, and firm, is called the gold of the ocean, as prized as caviar. The diners in Tokyo or New York rarely know that behind that delicate taste are fishermen who risked their lives at sea. Nor do they realize that the creature they're enjoying is considered a dangerous invader somewhere else. Trade knows no borders, and neither does the king crab. It's a product of globalization, a species native to Alaska that became income in Norway, cuisine in Japan, and a luxury symbol across Europe. When a species brings both wealth and destruction, the question is no longer, should we keep or kill it, but how can we coexist? Norway has chosen coexistence. The government divided the Barents Sea into two distinct zones. To the east, near the Russian border, limited fishing under quotas. Here, crab hunting is legal and tightly regulated. Every boat must register, report its catch, and follow strict size rules. To the west, where the crabs continue to spread, the government declared a free zone. Anyone can fish there without limits, hoping to slow their expansion. It sounds simple, but reality is far more complex. As profits rise, fishermen flock to the free zone, making control difficult. When catches drop, many demand that the legal fishing area be expanded. The government must balance ecology with economy. Scientists warn that if numbers drop too quickly, ecosystems could collapse in new ways. But if too many survive, native species will never recover. Some projects are now testing new methods, tracking crab populations with shell-mounted sensors, creating temporary no-fishing zones to study seabed recovery, and educating local communities about sustainable management. But perhaps the hardest part isn't science or politics. It's human nature, accepting that once we've interfered with the natural world, there's no way back to the starting point. If you believe every creature has a story worth hearing, join us as we explore more mysteries of the ocean, of nature, and of humanity itself. Hit subscribe so you won't miss the next journey, because this world still has so much left to discover.